I didn't tell anyone this story for a long time. Not because it wasn't painful, but because it was confusing in a way pain usually isn't. Pain is loud, pain screams. This story whispered. It crept in slowly, disguising itself as love, as loyalty, as something society tells us we should admire. And by the time I understood what was happening, I had already lost pieces of myself trying to make sense of it. So if you're watching this and something about it feels uncomfortably familiar, please don't click away. Stay. Sometimes the stories that hurt the most are the ones that help us breathe again. It started beautifully. That's how these stories always begin, and that's why they're dangerous. He was gentle in a way that didn't feel performative. He remembered small details, asked questions that showed curiosity instead of control, and spoke about family with warmth that felt grounding. When someone speaks lovingly about their upbringing, you assume safety. You assume emotional depth. You assume maturity. I remember thinking, this man knows how to love. What I didn't know was that love, when it has no boundaries, can quietly suffocate everyone else involved. The first date still plays in my head like a slow-motion scene I didn't fully understand at the time. I arrived early, nerves buzzing the way they do when hope starts to feel real. I watched couples around me, wondered who I would become in this man's life, imagined conversations, imagined laughter. When the door opened and I saw him, my chest lifted until I noticed he wasn't alone. He walked in with an older woman beside him, her arm nearly brushing his, her presence confident, unhesitating, as if this moment belonged to her just as much as it belonged to him. I remember my smile freezing halfway, my instincts whispering something my heart wasn't ready to hear yet. When he introduced her as his mother, I laughed automatically. Not because it was funny, but because shock doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks polite. Sometimes it looks like compliance. She didn't rush to greet me. She studied me first, not with hostility, but with ownership. That kind of quiet authority that doesn't need to announce itself. She sat next to him without hesitation, ordered his drink, corrected him when he tried to answer questions about himself. And the strangest part wasn't her behavior, it was his comfort with it. The way he didn't flinch. The way this dynamic felt practiced, rehearsed, lived in. I went home that night unsettled but unwilling to label it. We're taught not to judge. We're taught that close family bonds are a blessing. So I told myself I was overthinking, that first dates are awkward, that maybe this was just unusual circumstances. But discomfort doesn't fade when it's ignored. It deepens. And as the days went on, that feeling followed me, quietly asking questions I kept avoiding. As our relationship progressed, his mother didn't fade into the background, the way most parents do when their adult children begin romantic relationships. She became more present, not less. She called during our dates. She offered opinions on decisions that had nothing to do with her. She appeared unexpectedly, framed as coincidence, but always perfectly timed, and every time he welcomed it. No hesitation, no pause, no recognition that something intimate was being interrupted. I started to feel like I was sharing space with a ghost, always there, never fully visible, but impossible to ignore. I tried to communicate how I felt, choosing my words carefully, softening my tone so I wouldn't sound accusatory or disrespectful. I said things like, "Sometimes I feel like there's no space for us," or "I wish we could have moments that are just ours." He listened, nodded, and then gently dismissed it. "She just worries," he would say. Or, "She's always been this way." Or the one that slowly chipped away at me the most. "You'll understand someday." That sentence carries weight. It places your discomfort in the future, invalidates it in the present, and subtly tells you that your feelings are temporary inconveniences rather than real concerns. If you're still watching this, take a second seriously to subscribe. Not because this channel is perfect, but because stories like this need space. And if you've ever felt unseen in a relationship, you deserve to hear them. Over time, I noticed something unsettling about him. He wasn't just close to his mother. He was dependent on her approval in ways he didn't even recognize. He didn't make decisions without consulting her. He avoided conflict at all costs. He equated peace with compliance. And the problem with that kind of emotional structure is that there's no room for partnership. A relationship can thrive when one person is still emotionally anchored to a role they never outgrew. I started shrinking without realizing it. I stopped suggesting plans because I knew they might be overridden. I stopped expressing discomfort because it always led to explanations instead of understanding. I stopped imagining a future because every version of it included her presence, her voice, her influence. And slowly, I became a quieter version of myself, less expressive, less certain, less present. The loneliness wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. The kind that creeps in even when you're sitting next to someone. Especially when you're sitting next to someone who isn't fully there. On my birthday, I dressed with care, excitement humming beneath the surface, hoping just once that the day would be about me. He arrived late, with her. She handed me a gift before he did. From both of them. And I smiled, thanked her, and felt something inside me finally give up trying to explain itself. That night, alone in my bathroom, I cried quietly so no one would hear. Not because I felt unloved, but because I felt unchosen. And there's a difference. Love without choice feels like obligation. Love without boundaries feels like erasure. The breaking point didn't come from an argument. It came from clarity. We planned a weekend away, just us, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. But an hour after checking in, his phone rang. He answered, put it on speaker, and then told me she thought we were moving too fast. In that moment, everything clicked. I wasn't competing with another woman. I was competing with a life that had already been decided for him. And I realized something painful but freeing. You cannot build a future with someone who is still living in a past they refuse to separate from. I left quietly. No drama. No ultimatums, just honesty. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that looks good on the outside but leaves you empty on the inside. If this story resonated with you, if it stirred something you've been trying to ignore, please subscribe. More stories like this are coming, real, uncomfortable, necessary. And remember this, loving someone should never require you to disappear.